right, so let's continue where we left off last time. We do have three options here. We have the compiling option, we have the help files, and the Windows Spy. They're very simple options, and let me tell you, you're not limited to opening these things from the dashboard, because you can actually compile your scripts directly from Windows Explorer. We do have the help files, you can access them other ways. And this tool, the Windows Spy, you can launch it in multiple ways. But they are here on the dash in case you like using that. If you open your menu settings and search for dash, you can open the dash window whenever you want, and you have access to these guys in kind of like one place. That's what the dashboard is all about. So what we're going to do very quickly is to look at some options here. What is the compilation process? What are the help files? And what is the Windows Spy itself? So compiling in AutoHotkey is not the same as in other languages. In other languages, what happens when you compile something is that you convert text, the program that you wrote in C, C#, or any other language, and you convert that down to bytecode, like computer machine code. In AutoHotkey, that's not what happens. AutoHotkey, it is an interpreted language, such as Python, for example. And when you compile to an executable, what you're doing is simply bundling AutoHotkey with your script into one executable. And when you double click, AutoHotkey interprets the text. It's still interpreting everything. So this is not a compiled language as in the common sense of the word. But you can, this is for easy sharing. If you want to share your script with somebody and they do not have AutoHotkey installed, when they try to double click the file, it is not going to run. They have to have AutoHotkey installed in their computers. So if you're sharing a script, very likely what you want to do is convert it into an executable so that when you give it to them, they can double click on it and they can run it. You have multiple options here on which version of AutoHotkey you can use when you're compiling and so on. Just one quick thing though. This with compression right here is great. It makes the script smaller. It does a few other things. Those things might trigger antivirus software, because when they're compressed or encoded, the antivirus software cannot tell what the program is. And usually what they do is that they default to saying, oh, it's a virus. It might not be a virus. You created the program yourself, but when you compress stuff, that happens. Also, converting it to an executable by itself is a little bit tricky, because if you do not sign your executable, which might be a whole video on itself, some antiviruses also kind of like trip up by that and say, hey, this doesn't have a signature, so it must be some sort of virus, which not true, but again, this is a topic that we might cover later on. So that's the general idea behind this compiler. Now, the first time that you click on this button, it's going to tell you that the compiler is not on your computer, right? It's going to tell you if you wanted to download it. Once you click on it, then this is going to show up. By the way, as I mentioned before, you don't need the dash. So if you go to any script, let's say that you go to any of your script files or whatever, I think I have one here, you can always shift right click in Windows 11 to get access to the older menu. You can go ahead and choose to compile the script with the settings that you have saved. So it doesn't ask you anything. You just click on it and it compiles. Or you can just click on this and open the GUI, and then it shows up as I was displaying in a few minutes ago. So again, you're not bound to the dashboard for any of the actions here, because you have access to those things in many other ways. But it's good to have a place to kind of like know where things are. That takes us to the help files. Many, many times, I actually have been coding in AutoHotkey for almost 20 years now. But still is a good idea to open the help files, all right? So whenever you click in this button, you get access to both the offline help files and the online help files. I usually go to the website, I have them bookmarked, but you can open them from here. If your computer is offline for whatever reason, then you have access to these buttons. Depending on how many versions of AutoHotkey you have installed. And by the way, you can install as many as you want. You can have 2.0.18, you can have 2.0.1, you can have the older versions of V1, and they will all be listed here. And you can just choose which version of the help file you want to open. In my case, I just have these two. So you can just click on them and it would just open the website, which is fairly simple, right? Or the offline help file, again, is just a file that it opens. Fine. Now, the last thing that I want to touch on is the Windows Spy tool. Now, if I click on this button, what is going to launch is the version of the Automator that we created to replace the older Windows Spy, because we didn't like it that much. So at the Automator, we went ahead and kind of created our own version that has a few features. So let me go ahead and open the original one and then open the one that we created. And you will see, once you learn a little bit about AutoHotkey, you can do the same things like as we just did. So what we're going to do is, let me open here AutoHotkey, look at the UX, and try to open the older Windows Spy. There it goes. So this is the original tool that when you click on this button, that's what is going to show up. We look at this program as a helper. It helps you a lot about giving you information about other processes that you need to automate. For example, if you want to automate something, you might want to know, okay, so how do I click this button? How do I go ahead and open this tab or something like that? So this guy here gives a lot of information about that particular program. Mainly, it gives you information about the window. That means the UI in here. It gives you the window title, the executable that launched it, the current IDs. Those things change, by the way, so don't trust them. But these three guys, they're probably not going to change that often. We do have information about the mouse position, the color that is under the mouse, and other stuff. But mainly here, the control under the mouse position. So here, I could tell what type of control that is, whether I have access to the text, and where it is on the screen. And if this part right here gives you some information, that's jackpot for you, because it's easy to automate using AutoHotkey built-in functions, which we might talk a lot about that in upcoming videos. So this is kind of like, as soon as you look at that, oh my God, there's a list view. Oh, great, that's perfect. I know what to do with the list view, all right? So in any case, as I mentioned, this is a great helper tool. Here's the part that I don't like about it. The visible text right here, it's just like 2 rows. So yeah, there's a lot of text, and now you have to scroll, and this whole thing is very tiny, so it's really annoying. And if you try to make it bigger, yeah, that doesn't work. So, you know, like, it makes it a little bit hard for you to figure out what the text in a program is, because you have too little information. So we at the Automator decided to build something a little bit different, in which, again, you get the same information. And actually, we created something like you point at it and then you hit a button to get the information, but it is kind of like more static. Gives you a little bit more control. You can find all the other things that we had in the original one, like looking at the visible text and so on, the status bar text. But it has a few additional things, like whether it's an admin process or a normal process, whether what the current DPI is, whether it's 64, 32-bit. And also it has a search sort of thing here in which it kind of like filters out text based on what you're searching for and allows you to find stuff really quickly in the text while retaining the original thing, right? So very cool stuff. We use it quite often for many things. And I just replaced the old one with this. This is a program, totally custom program that you can build yourself, by the way. And once you learn a little bit more about AutoHotkey, you can build tools that are similar to this. And again, a lot of other things like clicking here copies the stuff to the clipboard really quickly. Many times when I'm dealing with this, yeah, I need the coordinates. Why would I have to type them out? We just click on it and copy it, right? So again, this little tool is very awesome. And once you replace the Windows Spy, for example, with yours, this button here, whenever you click on it, it just opens your own version, depending on how you did it, right? I'm going to talk about that later. But this is great. This is what the dashboard is for. AutoHotkey is mainly the scripting thing. So you will be probably clicking the new script all the time, or just creating the file yourself somewhere else. I definitely don't use the dashboard too often. I just go here for the launch settings and the editor settings. Once I set that up, then I forget about it until the next install, where it just shows up again, and then I close it and continue. But it's good to know that you have that available, so that when you start with your scripting and you need to make some changes or do some things, you know where to go. All right, so we're going to start now with a little bit more of the AutoHotkey language itself. I do have other videos that have to do with the editors and other general things, but I'm going to work through those slowly over time. So subscribe and like the video if you liked it, and you will see the next topics as they come up.